The show ready to rock your evening. This is Romberg and Korge on Onside Radio.
Place I would rather be right now than sitting next to one of the Kane legend offensive line. First of all, offensive linemen are the best positions in the world because we tend to be somewhat educated. We tend to be relatively articulate. We could speak,
Right.
we don't trip and fall over ourselves. Usually people understand what the hell we're saying. And then usually after football is over with, we find ways to be successful for the most part. And you've done very, very well for yourself. I'm joined tonight. Andy Korge is out. Andy Korge is up in St. Augustine trying to, reignite the flame of a relationship. I don't know what the hell he's got going on up there, but yeah, I think he took mom up there to visit Jacksonville, Florida for the weekend. And he wanted to leave me to the Wolves, but hell no, man. I think I don't know if he's going to have a chair when he gets back here, because we're joined tonight by Dave Heffernan, a University of Miami offensive lineman, current attorney in town. And are you allowed to solicit your own business? Well, I don't care.
I assume I can.
Hell yeah. You didn't come here for free. God damn it. Yeah, man. Go ahead. So you, what kind of attorney are you? What are you practicing?
A really
with?
good one.
I hope so.
That's
are you a litigating attorney?
I do. I partnered up with a friend of mine that went to law school with me. So
got it.
We partnered up about 6 years ago.
Where did you attend law school at?
UM.
Oh, you did go to UM as well?
Went to UM. Yeah, I bounced around the NFL for a little bit. I had gotten drafted by Kansas City, and then I was Hard Knocks before HBO started filming it. I went from Kansas City to Detroit. I got a lot of, hey, coach wants to see you bring your playbook.
That tap
Kansas
on the shoulder
City,
sucks.
The Jets, and then I spent a year in Tampa and was on IR, and then decided it might be time to.
And how difficult was a decision to make to be like, do I really want to be an attorney? Because, that's another 4 or 3 years of school that you had to come back to. Yeah,
and that was one of the things that was funny, because my undergrad degree was in communications, and I was actually interning with guys like Tony Segreto and whatnot at Four and these guys. And then the handwriting on the wall sort of came there, because the top guy at NBC at the time it was Brett Lewis, left to go to Los Angeles. And neither one of the two guys underneath him got promoted. They went somewhere else. They brought somebody else in. And I'm like, dude, I've been packing everything I own in my car, going from NFL City to NFL City for like 4 or 5 years.
I'm not doing this anymore.
And yeah, in broadcasting, it's rare. You need to start in a certain type of market, make a name, and I'm like, I'm done doing that. So thought long and hard about it and decided, well, I'll go to law school.
Is that something you wanted to be, like growing up as a kid? Was you ultimately wanted to be an attorney, or did you said, I'm gonna find a career path that's going to provide a really nice life for me and my family?
It was more the latter. I don't think I ever wanted to do that, but one of the things is, and particularly as I got into it, because I got on all the mock trial teams and everything else, and trial is much like athletics. It's 95%
too, right?
It's 95%, prep and everything else. That showtime's great at the end, but if you don't do the work going into that, you're never going to win on Sunday, kind of deal. So it was very similar, and so I've enjoyed it.
And you got a couple boys, so the apple didn't fall too far from the tree as well. You had a son that ended up attending North Carolina, right? He ended up playing for Butch Davis over there at the Tar Heels. How cool is it to grow up, play a game, become a professional at it, and then have a seed come out of you that he's doing the same damn thing as dad did?
It was awesome, because they came down and played Miami. And so, it's so funny, all these people, what are you going to wear? I go, hold on. I figuratively bleed orange and green.
Right.
I'm literally bleeding Carolina blue, so sat in that stadium, but it's very weird, but yeah, it's such a thrill to see. And he had a great career, really, really did well.
And he was a Columbus kid too, right?
Columbus
he
kid,
played
yeah.
at Columbus.
Both my sons played at Columbus. And then my daughter was a Knoll, and that's because
she went to Florida State, huh?
Yeah.
How does that work? Because I'm dealing with this tossed up fact where I know eventually my kids are going to go to some other school at the University of Miami, because right now they're in private school here, and I got 3 girls, and I don't even know if I got enough money by the time that they hit college, to be honest with you. If I have to keep paying this private school stuff for the next, I don't know how many, I'm pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, in the 1st grade, or whatever the hell I got going on. And then I'm adding this thing up every single year, and you're like $100 a pop. like every year.
Yeah, you
Plus
better
all
hope
the
they
other
start
stuff.
a senior league in the NFL and you can come out of
That's what
retirement.
I was like, Jesus, man, how do people afford this kind of thing? But I can only imagine. So he was obviously awarded a scholarship, right? From North Carolina. So how amazing is that, getting that? I don't have to pay for my kids' tuition.
No, it's great.
Did you do the whole, is it like a Florida prepaid plan?
I did do the
or the
prepaid.
Is it a 529 or what the hell is that called?
There is. You can do either. I did the prepaid with both of them, and you can get that money back if they go to school. I can get the scholarship and everything else.
Got it.
I mean, you get it back exactly what you put into
Right.
it. You not the greatest investment ever, but you get it back. And my daughter is people are like, oh, how's you let her go to Florida State? I said, well, it's not Florida, and
that's a cool dynamic because we talk about this. I hate Florida State. The older generation hates the Gators.
Right.
There's that, because I really don't have animosity towards the Gator guys.
That's because they stopped playing us.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. You got tuck tail and run.
Yeah.
I think I tired of the ass whooping after a while. But so you had and did she graduate from Florida State, or is she there now?
No, she graduated. She's down here working for a company called Thornton Construction. She had a great time up there. And again, it's the first time I really, you play against somebody, you fly in, you see a hotel, you see the stadium, you see the airport. So really got to see the campus, and it was a great school, and it was a great experience for her. And again, it was all Florida prepaid, and she got some scholarship monies,
cool.
Made it easy.
And you got one that's about to go ahead and serve the country, huh? You got
the
one.
ultimate scholarship right there.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So how does that work now in terms of years of service before you're allowed to go ahead and get out and be? How does that work in terms of like medical and all of that other stuff in terms of their pension?
It depends on what you're going into. He wants to go into the infantry, and that's a 3-year commitment. And I think it really just, best I can decipher it, is correlates with the level of education they're going to put into you. So if you're going into certain things, you want to become a medic or some of these other things.
Got it.
They want 5 years. They want, and so infantry is the shortest commitment, and he's going to get in, and so he can technically get out after 3 years. Or he may opt to stay. I mean, that's just a decision he'll make as it goes on.
Is he a badass? Out of your two boys, who's got a little bit more of a chip, a little bit more ornery than the other?
Oh, they both. And I mean,
figuratively speaking, with the chip on the shoulder.
Today, you'd think they're 2 and 4 years old. They're at the house, and I got to call them up and hear it slamming into walls. Now they can break things, which is what worries me.
As you guys can tell, this evening it might be a little bit of a get to know you kind of thing. I get enamored all the time when I meet former Hurricanes and stuff. I get all excited and I kind of get all giggly inside. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a get to know Dave Heffernan for me, and I apologize for everybody that I'm excluding out there. But a lot going on in the sports world this evening. Today, yesterday, you've heard previously that Jose Borregales, our kicker, our All-American kicker, who ended up going ahead and winning that Lou Groza Award, who's awarded to the nation's top kicker in the country, which is super cool. The reason why it's super cool is because it's never happened before at the University of Miami. We've had a couple decent kickers come through our school before, but kudos to this guy because he did hand us our ass whooping. So it's really weird the fact that we're praising the guy that just single-handedly beat us the year prior when FIU Panthers, Butch Davis is FIU Panthers, came down and really put together an amazing game plan that I think it left Manny Diaz starstruck, to be perfectly honest with you. What was going on that football field was almost like the Waterboy scene where Red across the field had the game plan on lock on whatever Manny's adjustments were going to be, whatever he had planned. It almost like they stole a playbook, for God's sakes. It looked like transparent.
It was not pretty. And,
no.
And when you look at the imbalance there, well, the imbalance, I think, is Miami's got many more athletes, but at that night, FIU had better coaches.
It was clearly one of, and do you see that as well? Like this year, even last year, of course, because Manny was learning on the job. But this year, I even found every single time that the Miami Hurricanes are facing a program that has experienced and seasoned coaches, it clearly looks like they're getting outcoached, hands down.
Well, I mean, North Carolina, what baffled me in that game is they came out, they had this running attack going. They came out in the second half. They had the same running attack going, and didn't appear to me that we made any defensive adjustments. And I know guys have been sick and COVID and all that, and that's been tough. And Miami's done a great job of making sure that they get those kids on that field and everything else. But everybody's had COVID and coaches issues, and how you don't make that adjustment.
Yeah.
And your head coach Manny is a defensive guy.
That's the thing. I'm watching how these heads are starting to roll a little bit when you got, Mike Rumpf, guy that I played with at the University of Miami. He's gone. But Baker remains, right? Baker's still there. Yeah, because I'm wondering if they get rid of Baker, that's Manny Diaz's defense. And this is my theory on it. If you get rid of that, it seems very cyclical, the way that when we lost that national championship game in 2003, when Larry Coker had to start, cutting wood basically by getting rid of Don Solinger, first of all, who legend down here in South Florida, both at South Ridge and at the University of Miami. So if you look at, I was at Miami. If you look at the running backs that Solly had, it was first Edgerrin James, then it was James Jackson, Najee Davenport, Willis McGahee, Clinton Portis, Frank Gore, the list goes on and on and on.
His pedigree's unbelievable.
It's still to this day, he talks to every single running. He talks to EJ all the time. He talks to Frank Gore all the time. Has great relationships in the community. I know he's helping out with what's Marco Rubio's high school over there off of Sunset. It's like, is it called Sunset or something North or something True North or something North?
No, there's Sunset High Schools over there, but yeah,
it's some new program where they just got a new football facility. And then my old roommate Greg LaFair, I think he's actually the athletic director over there, and they got all new equipment, all new uniforms. They're adding grades every single year to make it a little bit larger, but Solinger's over there helping them out as well. So
he is one of the best.
He really is.
Seen coach. I've watched him coach, and he was there when I was there. He was Southridge when I was at Columbus. So I mean, I watched him win state titles, and then he's as good a coach as you'll find, and one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
He really is. Yeah. Him and his wife Phyllis. He's always talking about Phyllis. Come on, bro. You got Phyllis, bro. And then Arthur Francisco was another one that had to fall upon the chopping block that year. And shortly thereafter, it was they ended up giving it to Randy Shannon, right? If I'm not mistaken, he became the next head coach after that. So I think we're going to be diving back and forth into quite a bit of Miami Hurricanes history here tonight on the Romberg and Korge show. But we got a lot of other things to talk about as well. We got a big super NFL wild card weekend going down this weekend. A lot of games on the docket, some crazy shit going on out there with guys that are ill, testing positive, not testing positive, head coaches that aren't going to be able to be play calling. I'm obviously speaking about the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield. And I find it so crazy, the fact that the Cleveland Browns have not made the NFL playoffs since Butch Davis, which was on a whim, which is a long time ago. And now you're talking about that head coach is not going to be able to attend, nor is he going to be able to go ahead and feed in any kind of information to his players. I know they've been going all week long in practice where he's doing that. But once it comes game time, I believe there's a 24-hour rule, or once the team leaves the hotel, I believe, to go to the stadium, that's when the coaches are executed. They're not allowed to go ahead if they have a positive COVID test. So watching the Cleveland Browns this weekend and not having any practices this week. So, just as much as I know, if you guys aren't out there practicing and game prepping and actually doing it physically, it's one thing to have it on the chalkboard or do the X's and O's things. But if your body ain't going through that movement or that timing, that momentum, it's not going to work out too well for Cleveland, I don't think.
No, and that's one of the things that to me always fascinates me, because if you go, and I coached a lot of Pop Warner, Grant's coached tons of these kids, but it's repetition. He's doing the same thing. And then if you go to a high school, and then it gets more sophisticated, but go out to a pro training camp. They're doing, there's an individual station, there's a group station,
Groundhog Day station, every day.
And it's the same thing. It's a matter of just fundamentally drilling those things in. And you're right. If you can't get out, you can't just throw a switch and come out and say, okay, it's game time. And, I know Baker's an emotional guy, but if you don't have the players and your receivers are out a week or this and that, and
that timing,
your offensive line, if those five guys aren't working together and one or two are,
It'll be
throws
bleeding.
Everything off,
especially if you're dealing with the guy that led the NFL in the sacks, or TJ Watt. That's another thing I'd like to talk about with you too as well. Are you as impressed as I am when it comes to, like, for instance, here in our hometown here in Miami, we have the Pouncey brothers, who were, one of them played for the Miami Dolphins quite a long time. The other brother obviously is a Steelers center. Do you find it utterly amazing that you have like that kind of, because we talked about your obviously family tree playing football, but this is like next level where you got sons that are the best at their position, making the highest amount of salary, the 2 Pro Bowl centers, the Pro Bowl defensive linemen. It's remarkable to me to see stuff like that.
No, it really is. I mean, you want to talk to Mr. and Mrs. Watt and go, okay, so what did you feed these babies?
Exactly.
And let's.
How did you conceive again? What position did you guys do?
Hand-eye coordination that you did as kids?
Jesus,
and
Murphy.
It may just be that the three of them just beat the crap out of each other all the time and pushed each other.
That's crazy to me. Yeah, I'm always baffled by that. Whether it's the Pouncey, and are they twins? Are the Pounceys twins? They are, right? Marquise and they're twins. Shame on me for not knowing that, but I know one of them's played a little bit longer than the other one though dake in terms of Florida, right? One left, and then the other one stayed.
One left, yeah. But I also think they won either 1 or 2 state titles together at Lakeland or wherever the hell they were. I mean, It's impressive. Well, look, talking about lineage, let's hope Borealis' brother.
How about that? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
is
true.
just as good as he is. Because
well, I was excited before even Borealis even came here and committed to come here in the transfer portal. I was like, okay, well, we'll get his brother. You know what I mean? I was like, that's pretty cool to have his brother. I hope he kicks as well as his brother. And all of a sudden the news came out that, he's going to be transferring over as well. I imagine Borealis is probably going to get a shot in the NFL, right? There's probably a good chance.
So. I saw Kuiper rated him. He's the highest rated kicker. I don't know whether that gets you drafted or not anymore.
Right.
Because it's just hard to tell with kickers. But
what was it? Janikowski, right? Was probably the last first round kicker, or has there been one since? Has there been one since, you think, Tommy? I don't know if you got that Google machine ready to rock and roll, but when was the last time an NFL team drafted a kicker in the first round?
It's a good question.
My year was obviously the Janikowski Florida State kicker that ended up going to, he went to Oakland, right? Because that's their.
I've still never seen anybody kick a ball that hard.
That was it, right?
Yeah.
That Polish Punisher, that guy, drunk as a skunk 4 or 5 days a week. 17th pick.
2000.
Was there any guys when you were in the NFL that, for instance, owners, like when an owner starts losing his mind and wants to pay crazy amounts, does everybody flock to that owner? Was that going on back in the day too? Was there any crazy owners back in the day?
It wasn't as much. I mean,
because I imagine salaries were
salaries were way down, but now the money's now, good Lord,
crazy, man.
It's insane.
It's utterly. When I was learning about the amount of money that Matt Ryan was signing after I left, I was like, Jesus Christ, like $100 million deals, 60 something guarantee. That was unheard of. And I'll never forget my eye-opening moment in the NFL when it come to money. You know what? Let's talk about that when I come back. The minute that I basically opened up my first NFL check. When we come back, we'll get into that. We got a lot more else going on here on Onside Radio and Community News. Tommy, what you got for him, baby? You got some lines, baby.
Here we go. Get the brutal honesty every day, noon to 3 p.m. with the Big O and the Onside Zone on your home for Sports Talk South Florida, onsideradio.com.
Take Onside Radio your home for sports talk everywhere with the MyTuner Radio app. Find the app at onsideradio.com.
We live in challenging times, and we understand you have questions about how you're going to take care of your family and yourself. Well, you can trust the Publix is doing everything possible to help. Our stores continue to be open. We're busy restocking as quickly as we can. But please remember to think of others as you shop for the week ahead. Friends and neighbors, the opportunity to get what they as well. Our supply chains are strong. Deliveries are being made throughout the day, and our associates are here every step of the way. It's not always going to be perfect, but together we'll make it through this. So let's be safe. Let's be calm. Let's be kind. Visit Publix.com for all the latest information.
Hey everybody, it's Good Greek Moving and Storage, and for over 2 decades, they've been entrusted to handle all of your moving and storage needs. And now, Good Greek is the official mover of Inter Miami CF. And if Inter Miami trusts the Good Greek, you should too. For the best move ever, whether it's across town or across the country, go to GreekMoving.com. That's GreekMoving.com for Good Greek Moving and Storage, the official movers of your Inter Miami CF.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. First responders are people who stand for a greater purpose. They will be there for you when nobody else is, to help you, your family, your community. This is their selfless promise. This is their sworn duty to protect, to serve, to help. They put themselves in harm's way for us. They come to the rescue at times when we need most. First responders are making enormous personal sacrifices to keep showing up for us and fighting the good fight. Nearly 70% of all firefighters are volunteers. That means when they get injured or quarantined, they may not have a way to pay their rent or keep their family safe and fed. No matter who you are or where you live, when you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up now. Let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org and make a difference today. Let's raise a cup to the first among us who put themselves last, to the risk takers, the mask makers, the heroes on the front line, and online. To the ones keeping shelves full and keeping us hopeful. To those who don't stop and those making all the stops. To the ones who pick up, suit up, and never let us down. From all of us at Dunkin' to all the heroes keeping everyone running, we thank you.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. When you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up. Now, let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org to learn more.
Listen to OnSideRadio.com anywhere by downloading the MyTuner Radio app in your app store. Or go to MyTunerRadio.com on your web browser. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida sports leader. Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. To reach out to the guys, send a text to 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. This is Romberg and Korge on Onside Radio.
Oh, yeah, baby. Welcome back. Look at this smooth jazz. Straight up sexual talk right now. This is the old school. What year did this song come out? This is, are you saying 91?
Michael McDonald?
No, man. I'm talking about the remix one, the hood version of it. I really, Michael McDonald. Goddamn. What's that one movie that
my age? You know, the Doobie Brothers, Michael McDonald. Come on.
I know. Well, that used to.
That's remix. That's 2013.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
I'll never forget. That was my dad used to get so pissed off when I'd put on rap. He's a rocker, number one, and he would be so upset every time I'd put on like a rap song or a hip hop song because he would say that all they're doing is stealing the rock beats. They're stealing everybody else's freaking music and redoing it and slowing it down or making it faster. My old man would get so hot at that kind of thing. But yeah, welcome tonight.
In the music business, that's what they all do.
That's it, right? Yeah. It's just basically digitally
sampling.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. Nowadays, and I know for a fact there's a lot of big music producers out there like the Dr. Dre's and the Timberlands and those kind of guys that used to get paid buku amount of money for their beats that they would create in their own studios. But now everybody is creating their own little freaking beat. Everybody has their own little machine nowadays. It's super simple. You buy them on Amazon now, and you could just sit there, smoke a lot of weed, and be a space cadet for a night or two and come up with a bunch of beats. And guys are no longer paying the $400,000 or $500,000 or even $1 million for some of these beats that have been sampled. So that whole industry is getting turned upside on its head as well, much like I imagine a lot of other industries that are getting affected by the pandemic situation. But if you're joining us tonight, Friday night, we're sitting here at Community News, Onside Radio. If you want to go ahead and tune on in, you can. Where else can they look at this stuff? You got Facebook, YouTube, Instagram Live, Twitter. You want to hear it? Where do you want to hear it at? What's the one podcast thing that I found out today? Spotify. But there's some other kind of podcast network that is like something.
Stitcher, Google Podcasts.
But I ended up downloading the podcast when I saw it today. It was it's like some kind of app thing, and I sound like I'm a freaking old fart right now, but I'm going to figure out what this thing is. It's Podbean.
Yeah.
Podbean is the actual podcast network. I didn't even know about this. Yeah, we're joined.
On 6 platforms, podcast-wise.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, now
wow.
And next week we're going to be on Apple Music.
If I'd have known that, I'd have dressed nicer. This is big time.
Yeah, this is next level, South Miami Studios. We're joined at that wonderful voice right there that you're hearing is Dave Heffernan. If you are watching, yeah, the guy's a monster. But it was ironic that I pulled up right next to a truck. I think it's just whether it's like white dudes, big white dudes, or there's something about white dudes and trucks, the bigger white guys especially. How long have you been a truck owner?
For a while. I went through a machination of things, and then I had an F-150 King Ranch, a different one than this one. Had it for, I don't know, 8 or 9 years. And then I was telling you, my brother's got a Land Rover dealership. Yeah. So I went to Land Rover round. I went to Mercedes round. And I'm like, I want a truck. Yeah, I mean, and you know, people that know me go, no, that's what you need. I mean, like, it's so freaking comfortable. I've done this merry-go-round too, right? I'm used to hanging out with friends that are half of my size. That's one thing. You're obviously an anomaly, and I'm a little bit bigger than the average cat. And I've even gone as far as done the 458 Spider Ferrari. And I'll never forget, I pulled up to my buddy's house and they started laughing. They started giggling because I had the top down, and they were like, "Look at the circus bear." Right. And I was like, "What are you saying, man?" And they're like, "Dude, you look like a circus bear driving around in that little freaking car." And you know, that car's like $350, $400 grand. That's an expensive damn car.
And I wilted immediately. And I'm not one to wilt when getting made fun of. And I was like, Jesus, that hurt. That hurt my feelings a little bit, So needless to say, out goes the Ferrari. That didn't last too long. And boy, did you get kicked in the balls when you drive it. It's like a $13, $14 a mile turnaround on that thing. It sucks more than anything. And then my whole big dream car is, and I don't know why it's this, because I've had the Bentley, what the hell was that? It was like, was it a Flying B? I think it might have been the Flying B. I can't remember which one it was. Oh, no, it was the Mulsanne. That's what it was. And big, beautiful, luxurious car. I would never go as far as doing the Phantom thing because I just find that obnoxious.
Right.
I would like to, but I just find that I could do a lot more with $450,000 than drive that car around.
You could live in it.
Yeah. They're everybody knows what the hell that thing is. And then obviously Chrysler tried to do their take on what that looked like. And it was like, yeah, that kind of looks like a Phantom. No, it kind of looks like a Chrysler. That's what it looks like. But yeah, I've tried to do that route, but every time I keep coming back to the truck, and I've had 3 platinum F-150s. I've had the Super Duties, the 250s that I fell in love with too. I just find them a little bit too rigid for me and a little bit too hard to park. I really enjoy the comfortability of that.
Oh yeah,
that Ford, and I'm not getting paid by Ford or anything like that. My family works for Ford, so I think that's why I ended up doing Fords, is because I got that family plan,
right.
And I've always had Ford. I've never done the Dodge Ram thing, and I've never done a GMC, to the point where I actually cheated on her one night, and I call her the F-150, and I went over to Williamson and I grabbed the Denali because I wanted to see, because they look gorgeous. The new Denali, they look beautiful. The sticker is pretty beautiful as well too. It's a monster of a payment. And I had one, and I literally, as I was pulling out of the driveway, I would turn and look at the F-150, and it's like I felt like she was giving me like you're an asshole kind of thing. So that didn't last long. I had to basically bring it back to the dealership after a couple hours, and I was just like, I can't even do it anymore.
Well, they've got all the creature comforts too. I mean, it's a truck, but I mean,
it
got
really is.
Massage seats. It's got all the navigation. Yep. It's got all the. I mean, it's got the bells and whistles of all that other stuff, and it's comfortable. I mean, it's the right pair of jeans.
What? So you've been a King Ranch guy. You never did the limited, the platinum thing. You're King Ranch.
King Ranch. I mean, years ago I had.
What's with the King? What's the product on the King Ranch? What's the
interior? Their leather comes from a ranch called King.
Oh,
Ranch.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And I know they have the emblem too on the on the arm pad, right?
Emblem. It's just, I mean, the interior is just unbelievable.
And it's always that two-tone.
Yeah, it's really nice leather, and it'll, I mean, take care of it. It'll last you forever.
Well, that was going to be the next question. I usually turn these things over pretty quick, and this is the longest I've owned this one, and I love her. This is a 2016 that I'm driving right now.
Yeah, and
I absolutely adore it. I got 60,000 miles on it, and I had some guy called me the other day from the dealership asking if I wanted to sell it, and I was like, well, how much are you going to give me for it? And I think they were going to give me like $34,000 or something like that for the truck. And I looked at a brand new one, and the new ones that are coming out this year, the 2021s, they look amazing. Like, I think there's actually a 3.5 EcoBoost diesel that they're coming out with.
Really?
Yeah, like a little badass diesel that they're coming out with. So, but those are like freaking $70,000.
Yeah,
they're big ticket items now. Trucks, man. They went from 50,000 to 70 pretty quick. And then, so for instance, you found your way. You did the whole lawyer thing. And how long have you been practicing now?
I graduated in 1991. So 20.
Law graduate too, and then
teach over there too.
You taught over right there.
I do now.
Do you really?
I teach in the trial program over there. Yeah, I've been doing
shit.
I've been doing that for probably 15 years.
Really?
Yeah. So,
oh my goodness.
one day a week, and then they'll do a final trial at the end of the semester as their project and everything else.
Oh, that's badass then.
Yeah.
I had no clue about that.
So,
so you're busy.
It's I mean, it's not. And the nice thing is actually, because it used to be from 6 to 8 at night, they opened a morning division, so it's from 7 to 9 in the morning. And
you knock it out before you even start your work.
Yeah, and it's great. And the students I have that are waking up at 7 to take a class all tend to be interning somewhere else and just a little more serious about it. But it's a great program.
What are your thoughts on well, this is a big question. This is a personal question out there for everybody. I really apologize. I'm getting into my own little world here, but my wife used to work for Ackerman. Then she went over to Bilson, and you got Holland and Knights and all these big firms.
Right.
I think one of the biggest industries that suffered was these big corporate attorneys' offices that ended up having to lay off an absorbent amount of attorneys. And I know that the law game coming out of law school, imagine, I know nowadays, what is Law annual tuition right now?
I don't know. It's got to be 45, 50 or up, or maybe 60.
I think it was 40 when my wife was going there back in the early 2000s.
60. Yeah, I mean, it's not cheap.
If I tell you, I don't know if you even ever saw what your son's scholarship was worth or how much it cost, but when Blake James told me last year that when I was attending UM in the early 2000s, my scholarship was like $36,000 a year to room, board, book, the whole thing. Now it's $83,000 per kid that the athletic department has to pay for. $83,000 per scholarship.
You want to know why my daughter went to Florida State?
there's no way. Like, I would love to have all of my girls right up the street attending the University of Miami. But I'd say if it ain't scholarship, it ain't gonna happen, man. I just cannot. I don't care. I just can't float.
That's colleges everywhere.
And
I got a lot of friends that got kids in college. I mean, every college now is 55, 60, 70. I mean, it's.
How do you recoup that money? Like, is there like some kind of government program that's gonna? Isn't that what like one of the big things that Biden was doing? It was trying to forgive a lot of student loans.
Yeah. So,
is that a possibility? Like, can that even happen?
I don't know. It sounds great in theory.
It does, right?
But I don't know that you can just wipe out like I know.
What about the poor bastard a couple of years ago that that didn't get the favor? You know, that doesn't get that.
Do you have to give him some money? Pay it, the guy that had the ability to pay it. I don't know.
That's crazy.
But I do think that's something they need to look at though, to make sure there's enough opportunities for affordable, post education for these kids coming out. Because if you put it where every school's 70, whether you get loans or not, you're going to limit the kids that can go to college.
That's insanity. What you got, Tommy? What's going on, baby? What we got? Well, we started sipping on something, so now I'm getting warm in here. I'm ready to go ahead and get a little chitter chatter going on.
We'll bring it back right after.
Okay.
This. So tune in every morning from 8 to 10 a.m. to Four Guys Born.
Look at you stuttering. You lost it. Damn it.
Raising hell every. Look,
hold on to clear your throat. Andy, start again.
Andy popped in on the feed. Look.
What's he saying?
Tune in every morning from 8 to 10 a.m. to Four Guys Born and Raised in South Florida and Raising Hell every morning to start your day. Catch the morning juice with Lemon City Live every day at onsiteradio.com.
You're listening to Romberg and Korge. Take On-Site Radio your home for sports talk everywhere with the MyTuner Radio app. Find the app at onsiteradio.com.
ADHD. It's the child who can't pay attention or sit still in school, right? The answer may be yes. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD, can be complicated and it can last a lifetime. Living with a condition can sometimes be a challenge. It may take years to accept a formal diagnosis, and it's not always easy to find the right treatment plan. Did you know that up to 75% of children and adolescents with ADHD have at least one additional mental health condition that also requires a comprehensive approach to treatment? ADHD guidelines were recently updated to reflect the need to screen for associated disorders. Be sure to talk with your child's doctor about proper screening and visit more2adhd.com for additional information. That's more2adhd.com. This message has been brought to you in partnership with ADA, ACO, and CHAD.
Hey Panthers fans, Dave Dwork here with some awesome news. Every Saturday, I'm going to bring you the latest on everything to do with the Florida Panthers with Chirping the Cats Radio. Saturday mornings from 10 to 11 a.m., we'll dive into the state of the team, recap games, and hear from past and present Panthers players, and plenty of other great hockey guests too. Got questions about the Panthers? Call or text the show and we'll break it down. Don't miss Chirping the Cats Radio, Saturday mornings from 10 to 11 a.m. only on onsiteradio.com.
Now streaming online. On-Site Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
Big news, Miami fans! Body Armor is proud to be the new official sports drink of Major League Soccer and Inter Miami CF. It doesn't matter if you're a player or a fan, Body Armor sports drink will hydrate you with potassium-packed electrolytes, antioxidants, and no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or dyes. Whether you're at home or in the starting lineup, Body Armor sports drink will hydrate you from kickoff to the final whistle. Body Armor, now the official sports drink of Inter Miami CF, available at your local Publix.
Listen to OnSiteRadio.com anywhere by downloading the MyTuner Radio app in your app store. Or go to MyTunerRadio.com on your web browser. OnSiteRadio.com. South Florida sports leader. You're listening to the only sports station in South Florida that likes to take your calls. 888-441-4623. We connect with a South Florida sports fan because we are South Florida. Locally owned and operated. 888-441-4623. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
I'm Tiffany. I have some tips for you on how to quit smoking like I did. First, I did some reading about it. I found a lot of great advice on how to quit smoking and picked out the ways I thought would work best for me. I started by setting a quit date. Then I threw out my ashtrays, lighters, and matches. I did other things too, like exercising more, and it worked. But I'd still get cravings, especially on long car rides. To help me with that, I put a picture of my mother in my car. She died of lung cancer from smoking cigarettes when I was only 16. Now I have a 16-year-old daughter. That picture of my mother reminds me that I don't want to miss all the things my daughter is going to do in her life, including turning 17.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. To reach out to the fellas, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Here's Romberg and Korge.
Kicking off with a brand new flavor in your ear. It's Friday night, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Onside Radio. This is the Heffernan and Romberg show tonight. That's what we got going on. Andy Korge is relaxing up in some kind of hotel spa in Jacksonville, Florida. St. Augustine. Did you ever make it ever to Jacksonville, Florida? Have you ever spent any time up there? Like, I'm not talking about Ponte Vedra Beach. I'm talking about like the shithole.
I try not to.
Yeah,
St. Augustine's amazing.
Beautiful place. Yeah, Jacksonville's a different animal now. I played there three years. I was there, and I didn't enjoy myself. Number one, I didn't see the field. That was probably one of them that was made it so miserable for me. But yeah, I was never really a fan of Jacksonville, Florida.
No, not a big fan of that city. But going to be very interesting because you're going to have new coach, new GM, most likely Trevor Lawrence. I mean, can they turn this franchise around?
Well, who was it today that was getting interviewed? It was oh God, I think was it Al Michaels talking about it today? I heard him speaking about it, about how like Florio is actually getting interviewed for the GM job up there at Jacksonville as well. A couple different situations or scenarios that are going on. Where was Bieniemy getting interviewed yesterday? And are they going back for a second interview? We talked about it a little bit yesterday. Is Bieniemy getting like was it the Lions?
I think it was Detroit.
Was it with the Lions?
I think so.
I can't believe. I'll put it this way. When I go back home to Windsor, Ontario, Canada, which is few and far between, I actually run into a player that I know very well that is pretty tied in and, plays with the Detroit Lions. And Patricia, they just hated him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Christ, did they hate that guy. Oh, couldn't handle him. Couldn't handle him. They thought he was the worst possible coach in the world. Everybody hated him in that building too. Like just bad juju. Really bad. And that's got to be the worst thing as a player. Have you come across any just total, you could say prick, right? Well, yeah, we just did. Yeah. Anyway.
Jags, Jets, Lions, and Falcons have interviewed Bieniemy.
That's a busy carousel right there now. Have you had any like just straight up just asshole coaches that you just can't stand? Just hated beyond passion.
Yeah.
Is it a laundry list?
No, there's not a laundry list, but yeah, the line coach when I got drafted by Kansas City, and obviously I wasn't there down to final cuts, but he couldn't stand the guy.
Really?
Couldn't stand him. And everybody else, I've been lucky. I mean, play for some that you may hate, but they're making you better,
right?
Which is what you want.
Exactly.
I don't think you should be sitting there buddy with your coach.
Exactly.
But yeah, there was one. Yeah. But few and far between.
I have a list. I don't know if I should be talking about this on the air, but I have a laundry list of things that, like, if I ever get cancer and I'm about to go down, I got a few people that are coming with me. And one of them has to do with an NFL franchise that it'll name nameless, I guess you could say. But yeah, the guy basically brought me into his office, and I was about to get cut, and he had his feet up on the desk and he was talking to me, and he was like, I thought he actually was on speakerphone, and he had his feet up on the desk, wasn't even looking at me, and I'm sitting there, and then he called me by my wrong name. He called me a different name. And that's why I was just like, is this guy even talking to me? So at the end of his entendre that he was doing, he looks and he makes eye contact with me, and he's like, "Got any questions?" And I was just like, "Wait a minute, you were talking to me that whole time?" And he goes, "Yeah, Bert." And I'm just like, and his name was Charles. And I said, "I'm good, Chuck. Thanks, man." And I got up and walked away, and I was livid. I called Rosenhaus immediately.
Right.
I was like, "Hey, man, just FYI, they don't even know my name here." This was really, really bad. I was pissed. I was livid. I was pretty livid. And then the waiver wire thing happened, and I was good. I was okay with that. But my God, and that guy had crust in the corner of his mouth. I could see him sitting across from me today. Just one of the people I just do not like at all.
It happens. My son had a linebacker coach, and he used to bitch. He's like, "Dad, you don't understand. He's a mean human being." And I'm always, "No, he's just pushing, trying to make it better." He finally said to me, he goes, "No." He goes, "When he retires, he's going to sit on his front porch and throw rocks at kids."
He's that guy.
And he went, "Oh, he's that guy." Yeah, exactly.
He's that guy. We've come across.
I go, "Okay, got it."
That's crazy to me, man. Now that voice you're hearing right now is Dave Heffernan joining me tonight here in the Miami Community Newspaper studios here in South Miami. His stomping ground, ladies and gentlemen, is very close to my stomping ground, and that's down Old Cutler in Palmetto Bay area. And one of these beautiful restaurants that we like to go to quite often, this place called Hole in the Wall. I wouldn't call it beautiful. I think the name is self-explanatory.
Beautiful in its own way.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those places that, guys usually go have a pop, you shoot the breeze, have a good time, talk it up, and, partnered in and owning the Hole in the Walls down here is Craig Erickson, former quarterback at University of Miami. Him and a gentleman by the name of Sammy. He used to be at the Cake South was another stomping ground. What was your...
Which is one of the few stomping grounds that's still in Miami from when I was in high school.
That's what I was going to ask you next. Where did you used to go ahead and wet your whistle at? As if you want to say high school, I'm cool with that too. But I know you have you have a bar license that you probably want to keep attained. So
I think the statute's running.
Yeah, statute of limitations is gone. Yeah,
I should be okay. Keg South was one of them.
The one right here on 104.
Yeah.
That's the dark hole that you don't even know is there.
Well, we used to, in law school, after exams, that was one of the places we would go to.
Football guys, or did you have your own crew?
Guys.
You had your own law school crew.
And then there was a little place by UM, Bill and Ted's, that was there forever. And
that's a legendary place, right? That ended up being a lot of watering holes of, like, even Coach Erickson, for instance, was a lot of the coaches would get there.
There was a few.
Yeah.
We'd hit Monty's. Duffy's on Red Road was a big UM spot back then. So, yeah.
Couple of watering holes, relatively close to campus too. You never ended up venturing down to the Grove. Was the Grove a spot for while you were attending UM as a player? Was the Grove any of the places?
The Grove was big again. Like when I was in high school, the Grove was still the Grove then, and it was like sort of the hippie-ish type and
like a Coconut Groves Arts Festival on 100.
Yeah,
like just extra
like
extra
that.
artsy.
But we'd go. Monty's has been around forever, and so we used to go to Monty's and but the Grove wasn't as big now. But when Sandbar was around, I mean, that's still back opened again. And then the Tavern was there. That was UM.
Oh yeah,
and,
that was the underage watering hole right there.
Exactly.
That was it.
So
there was a plethora of photographs. Like I think that's probably one of the funniest or the funnest things about that place, the Tavern, before it got shut down, was the generational wall of photographs of chicks pulling their tops up or hugging up, and then once in a while you'd like take a gander and you'd be able to see like a Mario Cristobal would pop up once in a while, or it became pretty damning. As a matter of fact, I know a lot of players or former guys that now are professionals that have gone in there and tried to rip their pictures off the wall.
Yeah, I could see Mario going down there trying to take the picture down now.
Yeah, he's got to worry about stuff like that. But yeah, so the local. Tell me about Bill and Ted's, because I was actually just at a friend's house a couple of weeks ago. And they were trying to remember that name, Bill and Ted's. And what he said was one of the best burgers around. And there was something else about that place that he said that Bill and Ted's was famous for. And why is it no longer around? Was it owned by like a guy that passed away, or what was the story?
I don't know who owned it. I mean, it was a cinder block building back kind of where the auto repair stuff and everything is off of Red Road.
Right.
Back in that little warehouse.
Right by the metro rails and all that other stuff.
Tucked back in there like a rectangular CBS block building. I mean, it had nothing to it, but it had cold beer and burgers and people knew about it. I suspect the reason it was sold is somebody that told me that they got like $650,000 for the building. So I think at some point somebody just went, yeah, it's time. And I don't know if there was a bill I don't know the history of it well enough, but been plenty of coaches in there.
Oh yeah, that place was. I guess you could say if the walls can speak, right? We need to talk about some NFL games, do we not, Tommy? Is there a lot going on here this weekend? Like, do we have enough time to get into it?
We're about a minute away from a break, so I'm going to come back with some lines and
yeah, you could do that.
A little because I did a show earlier today about it.
Okay, so you're pretty familiar.
Insight to drop on you.
Yeah.
We've got a minute to the break, so.
Well, then let's just go over can we go over the games that are happening? I could do that for you. You know what I mean? I could probably.
Yeah, I got them right here.
You got them? Okay, then feel free.
So let's do it. So game one tomorrow, 1:00 game is Indianapolis Colts at Buffalo. That line's 6.5 and 51 over. Game two at 4, Los Angeles Rams at Seattle, -3, 42.5. Then the night game, Tommy Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks travel to Washington. Tampa Bay -8.5, 45 over. That's for.
Do you know what you're saying when you're talking about these like minuses and pluses and overs and unders and all that stuff? Are you Dave? Do you know about gambling at all or no?
How do you think I make my money?
Did you gamble at all? I have no clue about sports betting.
That's Saturday. I'll give Sunday when we come.
Yeah, we'll do that.
I get the spreads.
You understand that stuff?
Yeah.
I don't have the slightest freaking clue.
Right here.
Okay.
We're Miami Heat fans.
Are you sure you're taking us out?
I don't even have any. Where Miami Heat fans get the best insight on the team with Ethan Skolnick from 5 Reasons Sports daily from 10 a.m. to noon, only on OnSideRadio.com.
You're listening to Romberg and Korge. Take Onside Radio your home for sports talk everywhere with the MyTuner Radio app. Find the app at OnSideRadio.com.
We live in challenging times, and we understand you have questions about how you're going to take care of your family and yourself. Well, you can trust the Publix is doing everything possible to help. Our stores continue to be open. We're busy restocking as quickly as we can. But please remember to think of others as you shop for the week ahead. This will give your friends and neighbors the opportunity to get what they need as well. Our supply chains are strong. Deliveries are being made throughout the day, and our associates are here every step of the way. It's not always going to be perfect, but together we'll make it through this. So let's be safe. Let's be calm. Let's be kind. Visit Publix.com for all the latest information.
ADHD. It's the child who can't pay attention or sit still in school, right? The answer may be yes. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, can be complicated and it can last a lifetime. Up to 75% of children and adolescents with ADHD have at least one additional mental disorder that requires a comprehensive approach to treatment. Learn more at moretoadhd.com. This message brought to you in partnership with ADA, ACO, and CHAD.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
Let's raise a cup to the first among us who put themselves last. To the risk takers, the mask makers, the heroes on the front line and online. To the ones keeping shelves full and keeping us hopeful. To those who don't stop and those making all the stops. To the ones who pick up, suit up, and never let us down. From all of us at Duncan to all the heroes keeping everyone running, we thank you.
My daughter is Marina. Marina has a rare form of children's eye cancer, retinoblastoma. Her doctor sent us to a specialist, and then the specialist sent us to St. Jude. Within the first couple weeks of us getting here, I was just so scared. Like, I think the reality just hit me, and it kind of hit me all at once. I had started to cry, and her doctor came in, Dr. Brennan came in, and just didn't even say anything, sat down beside me, and like hugged me and held me while I was literally sobbing. And she just said, "It's gonna be okay. We don't have to worry anymore. The treatment worked, and we've saved her eye." This place has been such a blessing for us. There's no way we could have paid for treatment back home if we had to. We can come here and we can just solely focus on taking care of her and helping her heal.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. First responders are people who stand for a greater purpose. They will be there for you when nobody else is, to help you, your family, your community. This is their selfless promise. This is their sworn duty to protect, to serve, to help. They put themselves in harm's way for us. They come to the rescue at times when we need them most. First responders are making enormous personal sacrifices to keep showing up for us and fighting the good fight. Nearly 70% of all firefighters are volunteers. That means when they get injured or quarantined, they may not have a way to pay their rent or keep their family safe and fed. No matter who you are or where you live, when you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up. Now, let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org and make a difference today.
With Make-A-Wish, the impossible becomes possible. A girl battling cancer can become a race car driver battling the course. The boy showing all the nurses his fire trucks can take the helm of a real one. Wishes can give kids with critical illnesses the strength to keep fighting, get better, and grow up.
Where there's a wish, there's a way.
Wishes need you. Visit Make-A-Wish at wish.org.
Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. To reach out to the guys, send a text to 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. This is Romberg and Korge on Onside Radio.
Playing that LL Cool J sexy music. I see what's going on. Who's back in the studio right now? Who we got back there right now? Is it Alex in there? Where's Vladimir? The only black dude I've ever met in my life with a Russian name. I've never met anybody. When he told me his name was Vlad, I was just like, as in like what? As in like Vlad something else? Like, are you giving me a nickname? Because I met him back when he was interning. I believe he was interning at 790 over there at Entercom. And then I came in the room and I was like, damn, it smells like weed in here. Not to put anybody business out there, but I was like, damn. And then I looked over in the corner and I was like, hey, what's up, man? He's like, what's happening, Romberg? And I was like, what's going on? He's like, I don't know if you remember me or not, but you know, I used to cover you, did some stuff back in the day. I was like, oh, cool, man. And I was like, what's your name? And he's like, Vlad. And I was just like, as in what? And he started dying laughing. He's like, what do you mean as in what? And I was just like, well, you're obviously not, you know, Skauta Poruski. You're not speaking any Russian to me right now. I don't think there's too many brothers over there in Russia. At least I've been there like multiple times. And I don't think I've ever seen one black person in Moscow. Like literally, I don't think I've ever seen one. And if I see a brother that comes out and speaks Russian, man, that's it. I'm giving him the wallet. Take it, man. I don't even know what to tell you. So yeah, the guy that was producing when me and Korge were doing the show a couple weeks ago was a guy by the name of Vlad. Do you by any chance know any black dudes by the name of Vladimir?
I don't think I do know.
Yeah, I none. 0.0. We're joined tonight with Dave Heffernan, UM offensive lineman, and I just learned tonight current professor, right? Basically, you don't say teacher anymore.
Well, adjunct professor.
Adjunct professor over there at the University of Miami School of Law, who also they're not giving that kind of title away to anybody who doesn't obviously have a law degree or is not a practicing attorney at this point in time. But yeah, I'm pretty shocked, and I'm enamored by that. I love that. My mother-in-law was willing to go ahead and put me through law school if I was interested in going through law school, but I just kept playing for a few more years, and I put in 9 years. So I was like, I'm debating on doing something. I really wanted to. Like I was either going to contemplate on going back to do become a doctor. Like I was very, very into the human body. Not just females, by the way. I was very into the human body. I wanted to do kinesiology when I was a Canadian kid. So I wanted to ultimately go to the University of Western Ontario and study kinesiology and go that route. I never even thought of football, to be honest with you, because in Canada we don't have athletic scholarships. So it was just one of those things where like I'll enjoy myself playing some university football, but also getting a kinesiology degree. And I was contemplating on coming back and being studious. I did the whole MBA thing, and I ended up going over to Wharton for a little bit through the NFL and doing that kind of thing to find out how business savvy I really wanted to be as either an entrepreneur or whatnot. And I was debating on doing the law thing because I could feel, I don't know if it was just all the practices that I was having with my wife of arguing with her and trying to, win battles.
You just wanted to win an argument with your wife.
I think that's what it was.
You were willing to go to school for 3 years and shell out that money to win an argument with your wife.
Well, I was somewhat deterred because there was nights that she would come home crying. I remember when we were in college, and it wasn't torts. It was some other class that it was at the very beginning of her law school career, which they tend to try to sort or thin out the people that are fakers. And she had a brutal teacher, a guy that was very, very difficult and hard on her, that would call on her quite a bit. And she's not good at, like, for instance, when I was asking if you do a lot of litigation, there's no way that my wife can be a litigator, because there's just some people that can't stand up in front of a lot of people and talk. Like, they're just not into doing things like that. And I felt I was the exact opposite. And I might be able to bullshit my way basically through law school. And she was like, nah, you're not gonna be able to bullshit. There's no gray area in law. It is what it is, right? Basically,
you'd be a perfect tandem, you and your wife, because she could do all the smart stuff and put it all together, and then you could go argue it.
Sounds like the way I got my college degree, to be perfectly honest with you. We were a perfect tandem. But yeah. So Dave Heffernan's here with us in studio tonight in Miami Community News Studios down here in South Florida. We are on Onside Radio. By the way, I think we're going to need to start doing some education when it comes to the game of football. I think it's going to be pretty imperative that once things start moving around here, we're going to have to start educating ourselves on the game of soccer. Do you know much about soccer, being a super football guy?
I've got friends that are so into it, and I've gone and watched games.
It seems like such a passionate sport.
When they had all the World Cup stuff, and it's down on Brickell, my office is down there, we would go and great parties, and they would explain this whole thing, and then I'd be like, wait, so the clock just keeps running, or at the end of the game, you get more time now?
Yeah,
and
I can't figure it out either. I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it. I'm just like, so it's 0-0?
And they're like, yeah, it's an amazing game.
And I'm like, they've been running around. They've been running a marathon now for 40-something minutes, and it's 0-0. Are you? And they're going to end the game at 0-0? I couldn't get over it. I can't get over that.
They don't end the game. The clock ends, and they're like, well, now we got to add back. And how much they go? Oh, we don't know how much we're going to add back.
Just a random number.
Yeah, so strategy. Like, what are you working on? Like, go for the final shot? No, we're going to have 1 to 4 or 5 minutes, maybe. I don't know.
And they got to be the prettiest athletes. I used to think that hockey players, when they get all off the rink and they got their flowing out the back of their hat, I thought that they were like the pretty boys of sports. But oh my God, no. Soccer players look the same going into a game as when they do going to a club at night. And usually halfway through the game, you're wondering, aren't these guys running? Like, their cardio is that freaking good that they don't even look like they're sweating at this point in time. And they're all tattooed up and their hair's all gelled up. And between them and like famous European sports cars, they're like the sexiest things on television for the most part. So yeah, I don't understand it, but I need to start learning to understand it.
But you were talking about NFL money earlier. Have you ever looked at what the
yeah.
soccer players make?
Monstrous.
It blows away any sport we've got here, other than maybe Floyd Mayweather.
True, very true. That type of money, that off the field marketing money that these guys are getting. Like, for instance, I never even heard of what's the Alfa Romero car line that just started coming over to the United States maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, is my guess, when they started pushing the Gila or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah, I never even heard of that kind of car line. And then all of a sudden it's like, you got guys like who's the guy, Messi, and all these other different dudes from Italy and Spain that are just making multi-million dollar contracts in marketing over there.
It's insane.
Monstrous. What we got? What else you got for us, Tommy?
We got to roll out, but I'm bringing the other 3 Sunday games back when we come back from the break. You're listening to the only locally owned sports station in South Florida, OnsideRadio.com.
You're listening to Romberg and Korge. Take Onside Radio your home for sports talk everywhere with the MyTuner Radio app. Find the app at OnsideRadio.com.
Rockin' South Florida with a passionate hometown approach you can trust for the last 30 years. It's the Onside Zone, daily 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. with yours truly, Big O, right here on OnsideRadio.com. Download Onside Radio podcast on most platforms. OnsideRadio.com, your home for South Florida sports talk.
You're listening to the home of Inter Miami CF.
His strike is a decent one. It's fired into the top right corner. Gonzalo Higuain opens his account for Inter Miami.
OnsideRadio.com, where the passion for La Rosa Negra runs deep. Keeping you informed in the world of sports. With an OnsideRadio.com sports update.
With the Dolphins no longer in the playoff hunt, the team is now looking to the offseason and what free agents they could sign. It's reported that Lions receiver Marvin Jones Jr.'s preferred destination is Miami. Jones Jr. averaged 12.8 yards per reception and scored 9 touchdowns in the 2020 season. The Heat are traveling today to Washington, D.C. for their game tomorrow against the Wizards. With no major injuries to report for tomorrow's game, fans will enjoy an intense matchup between the two Eastern teams. Add Lou Groza Award winner to Jose Borregales accolades in his one season with the Miami Hurricanes. He becomes UM's first national award winner since 2003. UFC fighter Erwin Rivera was arrested on Thursday on 2 counts of attempted murder. He was booked just after noon Eastern time and was being apprehended by police and is now being held without bail. Fired Angels employee Brian Bubba Harkins named pitchers he said used illegal products. In a defamation complaint against the Angels and MLB, he claims the league has evidence implicating several star pitchers, including Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, and Max Scherzer. He claims they used a substance to improve their grip on the ball. Legendary Dodgers manager Tom Lasorda has passed away. The Hall of Fame manager guided the Dodgers to 2 World Series championships. He was 93 years old. Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce and Rams defensive lineman Aaron Donald have been selected unanimously to the first-team All-Pro team. Aaron Rodgers earned the quarterback nod on his first team. Jim Harbaugh has signed an extension with Michigan and now runs through the 2025 football season. He signed a 4-year extension with revised financial terms effective January 11, 2021. With an Onside Radio Sports Update, I'm Benjamin Cure, and you're listening to the only locally owned sports station in South Florida, OnsideRadio.com.
It's time for Romberg and Korge. Start your evenings with 2 guys ready to break down all the latest sports headlines in South Florida. To reach out to the boys, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. To connect by text, it's 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. Now let's go to the show ready to rock your evening. This is Romberg and Korge on Onside Radio.
Well, if you think that you're having a great time this Friday night, I don't know where else you would rather be, Tommy, right now than in a frigid South Miami studio.
BT's, the tavern.
Hold on, we don't have that much time.
Jesus Murphy. Well, I'm just happy that I'm away from my wife for a few minutes, to be perfectly honest with you. Sometimes I like to just get out of the house, and because I normally come with like a super large ball and chain. Usually that's wrapped around my ankle. I've yet to figure this thing out. Like you've been married how many years now? And how many times have you been married? Are you like a multiple?
No, just one.
And you met your wife, and she, from what I heard, she's a former athlete as well, huh? Does she have an athlete mentality though? Like, is there a huge difference between? Because I've never experienced dating a co-athlete, because I imagine they see things very similar to the way that we see things, where they understand, they grow up in teamwork, they understand sports, they understand hard work and being verbally abusive to each other for the most part. You know, they could probably handle a name calling once in a while.
100%. And because of that, the good and bad of it is everything becomes a competition. You know?
Oh, so she's
flip
still really
a pen or something, and then and then that, of course, is translated to my kids. And yeah, it's good. There's some unhealthiness to it at some point, you know.
Of course.
But yeah, if one of my kids got a toy and you had to spin it X amount, like she'd stay up all night till she could spin it more than that. And yeah, she's very, very competitive.
Well, that's freaking amazing. She was a basketball player.
Yeah, high school, she earned 12 letters. She was all state. She's from New Jersey. She was all state in basketball, softball, and tennis.
And is she a tall girl too, or
no? She was a 2 guard. She was a shooter. She's 5'6" maybe.
So pretty average then.
But literally, I mean, she was at UM my senior year, but I didn't know her. And then after I got cut by Kansas City, I was back training in Miami and literally met her in the weight room at Miami, and the rest, as they say, is history.
That's crazy. And then, so do you see in terms of like your kids? Does you see some of her athletic ability, or is there a difference? Like, is there some things that like you weren't really athletically good at that she was really, really good at that she could probably hang her hat on and saying, "Yeah, I'm a lot better than him at it"?
Well, I mean, she could hoop. I mean, that was.
Do you think she could do you in on the basketball court?
She could.
No doubt.
We used to go down to Tropical Park when we were dating, and it was funny because I'd always get picked. Oh, they want the big guy, and she'd be the last one to get picked. And then guys didn't know what to do with her because, first off, she'd throw passes and hit guys in the side of the head all the time because nobody thinks you're actually going to pass the ball in the park.
Right.
You're going down there waiting for you to shoot. But, so the guy would play off of her. She'd shoot lights out, and then he'd come try to play defense on a consultant. She'd drive by him. And so, they're like, we should have picked her first.
That's crazy. That's awesome. And then, so you guys have been happily married for how many years now? Or I don't know how to say happily. That doesn't exist. And this is another thing. Everybody knows that I bitch about my situation all the time. And I've been doing it for I don't know how many years now. And it's wondering why I haven't been divorced multiple times. But for people that tell you that they're happily married, you almost want to like just, okay, man, sure. It's like, fishing tails. You know what I mean?
Right.
Marriage is kind of like pregnancy and babies. Like, they tell you that it's, this is going to happen. It's going to be okay. And everything's going to work itself out. But for the most part, it doesn't come with a novel. And I think probably aside from kids and marriage, there's not much more difficult you can get than trying to stay with the same woman, make the same woman happy, avoid killing each other, and then raise a family and try to produce, really good, reliable products in society for the most part. And I think you've probably done a pretty good job at that, you and your wife. So you guys have been cranking this thing for how long now?
30 years.
30 years.
Yeah. So,
and then now in this
if
day
I would
and
have killed
age,
her when I met her, I'd been out by now.
Yeah, you'd have been.
So
I know. I
I
kind of think of the same thing, and I'm looking at like payments and all that other stuff. Like how many years have we been married now? And I'm like, oh, I'm way over. And plus, I'm stuck like Chuck anyway with the 3 kids. It's over with for me. I'm kind of like I just got to accept fate now.
One of my favorite bumper stickers, and it's way outdated now, but it was years ago. It said, "Love is grand, divorce is 500 grand."
I got so many buddies that are going through and even like in my little circle of friends, there's some like marital situations that are going, especially with this COVID.
Well, this pandemic is. I've got friends who are divorce lawyers. They're very busy.
Busy. I bet they're busy as hell.
Busy. Yeah.
That's incredible to me. The amount, and I've almost become like a firm believer that man and woman aren't meant to be together. Like not necessarily in terms of obviously sexually reproducing. Yes, of course, but there's just such a difference, and man does not understand woman, and woman does not understand man for the most part. And whoever obviously can figure this thing out, it's like the secret to life. I have a hard time believing that this was really supposed to happen. Like, you're supposed to spend your life with somebody, wake up with somebody every day, go to bed with somebody every night, the same person, mind you, and try to not kill each other. It's a remarkable thing, and for the fact that you've done it for 30 is awesome.
Well, it's been good, and look, we've been blessed. My wife opted not to continue working, so she stayed home with the kids and raised the kids, and I think it made a huge difference in schooling and everything else because they went through public schools, but she always was volunteering, so she was there.
She was a homeroom mom all the time.
Yeah, and so I mean, tons of work separate and apart, but I look at my kids now, and I owe a great debt to her,
right?
Because I went out and worked, but she was doing the hard work with those. And I look at my kids now, and hey, knock on wood, they're all really doing well. They're successful. They're working. They're all in healthy relationships. So I count my blessings.
That's one of my good friends who a lot of people probably know told me one time years ago, when I think it was actually before I started having kids, was if it was up to men, there would be nobody else living. Like, we would be the last generation.
Oh yeah, we'd die.
Because we just wouldn't reproduce if we knew what was coming. God bless the women that take care and help us out.
Sure, you were there for the birth of your children and everything.
Yes.
Yeah. All you need to do is watch that once and go,
yeah.
Wouldn't happen if it was a guy.
Yeah.
We all think we're tough and everything else. I watch it, but I'm like, no, not doing that.
Yeah, it's
and they have multiple.
Yeah, they go back. They go back at it again. You know, they figure it out after a couple of years of like, oh, I want to do that again. It's like, oh my God, you don't remember what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Can we talk about football? Is Tommy? You keep distracting me with all of this family talk all the time, and cruising.
Dude, I
down
was just
memory
talking about
lane.
BTs. How's that family
Well,
talk? I don't even know that that's
one thing leads
Is
to
that not
another.
a family environment?
Yeah, you're right. It is
Family friendly.
Dude, I've been helping single mothers for
There's
a long
that's
time now.
A lot of light bills need to be paid, Tommy.
You're right. So
Congratulations.
I could give you guys the 3 games on Sunday. Game 1, the 1:00 game, Baltimore -3 over Tennessee. 55 is the over total in that game. The middle game, Chicago at New Orleans. New Orleans -10, 47.5 total. And then the final, and I don't even know if this is going to get played because of the number of cases that the Brownies have of COVID. But Cleveland at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh -6, 47.5 over.
That's the game because I grew up. I'm like your wife. I'm a huge Steeler fan.
Oh,
I love the
diehard.
Pittsburgh Steelers, and I actually, ironically, somebody was asking when we were doing the show a few weeks back of why did I like the Steelers, and I said Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green. Those were the 2 guys. And ironically, a couple days later, I don't know if I did put that bad juju on Kevin Green. I don't know what the hell happened. It was like I was like, Jesus, man, you just said you like that guy, and he just all of a sudden passed away. But yeah, I was a huge Steeler fan. And I didn't even know the whole Mike Webster. That I didn't know that situation, and then obviously me being a center, I had to watch that movie. I had to find out what was that all about, and I was enamored because I got scrambled eggs. Do you have anything going on like in terms of memory wise, or do you?
Who are you?
Exactly. You know what I mean? Who are you exactly?
And how did I get here?
Yeah. But any you ever had any issues?
No, I mean, look, knock on wood. I mean, I get joints that hurt and everything else, arthritis and all that, but nothing of great significance. And I'd like to think, I'm still intact upstairs.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was different. I mean, a handful of concussions and
right. Did you ever, after playing football, how hard was the transition once you stopped playing the game to go back to basically decide I'm going to go to law school immediately and become an attorney? And then how tough were those? Not necessarily. I know the actual attending of the school is probably very difficult for the 3 years that you ended up doing it for, but mentally, overcoming that, something that you've played your whole life, you've wanted to achieve your whole life, when that clock is up, you're not playing anymore. You're no longer the football player. You're no longer Dave Heffernan, the football player. Now you're going to be a whole new identity. How hard is that to adjust to that?
It's certainly a transition. I mean, when you're in football, you know what you're doing in the offseason. I'm training, I'm doing this. The season rolls around
to the minute.
Your life is scripted, and you pretty much don't have to think. I mean, you're told, hey, here's your workouts, here's this, here's what you'll eat. And so it's a transition. I mean, the transition for me was when I got into law school was trying to get over at first, like, did I make a huge mistake? Because I'm sitting around and I'm thinking, like, all these guys got to be smarter than me. How did I get into law school and all these things? But the nice thing was undergrad was important, but I knew I was going to get a shot in the NFL. So the goal became get your degree. But if I got my degree with a B or a B minus,
that's the way I was too. Basically, I was like a 3.5 GPA kind of guy.
And I'll get out. And so, but then spending a little time in law school, I looked around and went, oh, all these people are as clueless as I am. And that's the whole first year thing you were talking about with your wife. I mean, they keep asking questions until you can't answer them just to put you in that state of mind.
Would you create some kind of like similar situation to camp? Would you say the first year of law school is like an NFL football camp or a collegiate football camp, that month of August that is just such a drudgery?
A little bit, but I mean, you just got to block out. And again, it's putting time in. But yeah, it's a lot easier. Although I did tell my property professor at one point, because property was one of these classes that just everybody hates.
Right.
It's a year-long class. And he was, I don't know, 5'8", 145 pounds.
And you wanted to wring his neck probably.
No, but I told him at one point, I said, listen, I've played against some great college players. I've been in the NFL. I've tried to block Joe Klecko. I tried to block Reggie White once or twice. Okay. I go, you actually scare me more than them when you say my name.
That's funny. Intimidating. Yeah. Those profs are pretty freaking intimidating, man. And they're usually like partners or people that are at firms and like very similar to what you got going on for the most part, or are they just full time?
That does is they're generally full-time faculty. And so they are, that's what they do. Now, a lot of them have come from backgrounds where they were in a firm. What we do with the trial program, everybody that teaches in that, we actually have a lot of sitting judges that teach in that, and practicing attorneys. And that's where they learn pretrial and trial skills. As I said, their final grade is actually, we do a trial down, we take them to the court. Well, we do it virtually now, but take them to the courthouse. We bring jurors in. They actually conduct a full-blown trial.
Would you recommend for football players in particular, or even athletes, but majority football players, would you recommend them trying to be attorneys? Like the ones that have a good head on their shoulders, like, do you think an athlete would make a really good attorney versus just a normal average person?
Oh, I do. But I could apply that to a lot of different things, not just attorney. It's funny. My son works for a company called KLM, and they sell orthotics and jaw stuff. Okay, yeah. So, but pretty much everybody that works for that company is either a former college athlete or former military, because they want that discipline. They want to know we can count on you. You can put in those long days. And so, yeah, I think what you learn in athletics, that skill set can translate into almost anything.
I'm a firm believer in that. The metaphors between football and life are an absolute, it's almost like a Bible to me, to be honest with you. I feel very strongly to that, and there's no other sport, I think, like it. Football replicates life in so many different ways. So, Tommy, you're looking at me, give me the stink eye. What do you got? You got to read something? Or?
Yeah, this is
Am I
brutal,
boring you?
No, I mean, not the interview. I mean, doing this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were boring.
We might have to get Andy Korge just to
Is he texting, trying to bother us?
Stream in and then do these liners. Florida Panther fans have a place to call home every Saturday morning, as Cats insider David DeWork will host Chirping the Cats Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. On-site radio is committed to all sports. Panther fans can now connect every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. with David DeWork on the home for Panthers fans worldwide, onsiteradio.com.
You're listening to Romberg and Korge. Take On-Site Radio your home for sports talk everywhere with the MyTuner Radio app. Find the app at onsiteradio.com.
I'm Tiffany. I have some tips for you on how to quit smoking like I did. First, I did some reading about it. I found a lot of great advice on how to quit smoking and picked out the ways I thought would work best for me. I started by setting a quit date. Then I threw out my ashtrays, lighters, and matches. I did other things too, like exercising more. And it
about how you're going to take care of your family and yourself. well, you can trust the Publix is doing everything possible to help. Our stores continue to be open. We're busy restocking as quickly as we can. But please remember to think of others as you shop for the week ahead. This will give your friends and neighbors the opportunity to get what they need as well. Our supply chains are strong. Deliveries are being made throughout the day, and our associates are here every step of the way. It's not always going to be perfect, but together we'll make it through this. So let's be safe. Let's be calm. Let's be kind. Visit Publix.com for all the latest information.
Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. To reach out to the fellas, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Here's Romberg and Korge.
All eyes on me. We keep the bootleg version right now, man. We keep getting the bootleg version out the trunk beats. Is that the way we're doing it here? I know it's like you can't have copyright and all that other stuff that's going on, but I just say F it. You know what I mean? Who's coming after me, Tommy? Like, for real, who's coming after me?
Nobody, bro.
Exactly, because nobody knows who the hell I am anyway, so it don't matter, bro. Just do it Miami style. Just wing it. Wing it Miami
deep
style.
In South Miami. Nobody knows where we are.
Nobody knows where the hell Christ, nobody knows what's going on right now. We're freezing, though. What do you got the air at in this place right now, Tommy?
63.
Jesus, man. You were warned the other day. The Millers told you about the air conditioning bill. You know, they must have got a notification from FP&L talking about, hey, we got a little bit of a meter issue going on at your place. We're joined tonight. Happy Friday, everybody, by the way. I think I'm starting to get a little warm here. I wouldn't mind having a little more booze, to be honest with you, but we're sipping on a rum, but they're not paying for it. So I'm going to go ahead and just, leave their name out of it. And I've actually turned the bottle around too, so nobody knows. But it is signed by Ernest Hemingway's son, actually, or is it the grandson? I think it's the grandson.
I don't know, but I think you gave a big hint.
Yeah, probably right. I kind of gave it away. Yeah, we're having a beverage here tonight. We're joined by Dave Heffernan, University of Miami offensive lineman from the Schnellenberg era and 1 year of JJ. Have you ever attended Jimmy Johnson's Fish Week? Have you ever done that?
I have not. I mean, I've gone down to a few things. I've heard, and I've got friends that fish that, and
it's a
he
spectacle.
does it right.
And they've actually just moved it up to the Hard Rock as of last year. So now it's strictly going out of the Hard Rock up there in Seminole Casino, right there up in Hollywood, Florida, and it is monstrous.
Yeah.
And then a guy by the name of Todd Roy, who was like Arthur Francis Keel's best friend. So yeah. Oh yeah. Todd's he's a Palmetto guy. Yep. So Todd puts that event on every year and has done an amazing job. Actually, he was the former president of the University of Miami Hall of Fame as well. He's been affiliated with the school for a long time. And I'll never forget the first time I met Todd was it was an event called Thanksgiving for the Misfits. And he would throw this because he came from Detroit, Michigan, came down, him and his brother, Lex, and they basically would put on, for all the singles, like both men and women, they would put on a Thanksgiving event. And my dad, when he was down here one time for Thanksgiving, watching a game, he went over there and hung out with Todd because he ended up meeting Todd and the whole Detroit-Windsor connection or whatever it was. And then Todd Roy started doing the Florida team golfing and putting on, Alonzo Mourning's golf tournament, Zoe Summer Groove and all that stuff, and had a really successful golf tournament. I actually worked for him one summer. My summer job was actually setting up these golf tournaments and then playing in them.
Right.
I would set it up and then kind of playing it as a celebrity, whatever it was. It was the most podunk thing I've ever done in my life. Probably. It's like I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was actually driving around a massive truck that I probably hit a few things. I don't know. I guarantee you I hit a few things, dropping like stuff off at warehouses and stuff. So anyway, Todd Roy, really good dude, ends up going ahead and transitioning over to putting on JJ's Fish Week. And between him, Greg Mark, and who's the other guy that ends up? Bruce Ebers. He does it with him as well. So those three guys are putting on JJ's tournament, and they got like a monster deal for the Hard Rock, and that's going to be an annual thing. And they're actually working on the Atlantic City fishing tournament as well for JJ's thing. And those two tournaments alone are going to be, it's either the first or the second highest purse, which is incredible.
It's
and
grown every year.
They're paying. What is it to get in again? Is it like 30 or 40 grand per boat to get in, or
something like that? But the payout's over $1 million.
Yeah, it's over $1 million.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a lot of fishing money. That's a lot of fishing money now. And it got serious last year. The wind was brutal. It actually got really. The celebrities weren't even allowed to go out.
Oh, really?
That's how bad it was. The Friday celebrity fishing day. they actually advised that nobody go on the boats. I'm a fisherman. I'm an avid fisherman, so I was like ready to rock and roll to go on the boat. But hey, keep me inside, keep me warm, feed me, and give me some booze. I'll be okay. So I spent the weekend over there at the Hard Rock. But yeah, JJ's Fish Week is coming up in, I believe it's March, right? March, I think, is JJ's Fish Week. They've already been putting stuff out. I see a lot of social media stuff going on about JJ's Fish Week.
Well, that's a guy that can fish too.
Oh,
JJ
God.
knows his
He's
stuff.
my spirit animal, man.
Yeah.
I got a place right near Jimmy.
Okay.
Yep, I'm down in Isla Morada too, and I see JJ walking all the time, and we were supposed to go fishing a bunch of times, but he's terrified of COVID. Like he literally, that's why he's not on Fox Sunday.
Right.
He's not doing that travel. He's like, Brett, he goes, I got issues. I got heart issue. I'm an older man, and I just can't afford to risk going fishing with you. He goes, I'm sorry, He goes, I imagine you're being a good guy and everything too. And that's when we ended up, for the first part of COVID, going to live at the house in Isla Morada for like the first month and a half down there because there was nothing
on the Keys.
The Keys were shut down. I think there was 2 cases in all of the Keys, to be perfectly honest.
One of the safest places to
it
be
was
for a while.
gorgeous. We spent days out at the sandbar. It was an incredible time. And yeah, but JJ's Fish Week, I'm a huge fisherman. Do you fish at all by any chance?
I do.
You do? You get out on the water too?
I do.
But other people's boats, which is
Other
the best way to
people's
do it.
boats, yeah.
Freaking smart. That's why this guy's an attorney.
Yeah, March 2nd through 6th, 2021.
And that's going to be held
$1 million guaranteed, estimated up to $2 million. And I can imagine there's all kinds of like brown bag, Calcuttas going on.
That stuff is incredible, and the sponsorships are incredible. You go there, and I'm literally walking around with a fishing cart because of the amount of stuff that you're getting. Whether it's this one device, probably the coolest device, and the same person that invented this. The sub that keeps your sub at Publix. You can buy a sub, and that little sub container thing. The same family invented this tool that I imagine is now probably public, but it has everything on it, from a fuel tank opener, a bottle popper, a corkscrew.
I saw that.
It pulls the plug out of the thing. It's like they were giving those things out at the tournament.
Fits like everything on the boat.
Yes, it's an incredible device. Smart as a whip, the guy who ever invented it. I think he actually drew it on a napkin, kind of very similar to Arthur Blank's offer for the Atlanta Falcons. He drew it on a napkin and in front of a guy, and the guy wanted to give him, I think it was like $10 million or something like that for the napkin. And he said, no, I'm not doing it. Smart man. I think he's got probably a lot more money invested in that thing after that. But yeah, so tonight we're joined, Dave Heffernan here, University of Miami Hall of Famer. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and give him a shout out as well, because he's not done it yet. If you guys are interested, so you're not, I got to be correct here. What kind of law we're looking at?
We do personal injury work. So I do auto accidents, medical malpractice, negligent security cases.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Anybody that's been wronged, basically.
Anybody that's been wronged and hurt, yeah.
So go ahead and how do you pronounce it? Is it Care?
Care.
So yeah, so Care and Heffernan, their law firm, they're right there on 999 Brickell Avenue, penthouse, mind you, the PH. I love reading cards that have PH. 1102, right there in Miami, Florida, downtown Brickell. Go ahead and give them a call if you want to. You can call them 305-372-0123. Or you can go ahead and check them out on www, which nobody says anymore, but it's carelaw.com as well. And that's Dave Heffernan and his good buddy. What's Care's first name?
Mark.
Mark Care.
Yep.
And you guys went to school together, obviously.
Went to law school together, yeah.
And did you guys instantly kick it off and hit it off, or how did that work out?
We became friends in law school, but we didn't partner up until about 5 years now or so. About 7 years ago, he actually reached out to me. He'd been on his own. I'd been in a couple of different firms. And he had a case with a kid that got his neck broken in a World Indoor Football League. And the problem is the kid died, and the kid never should have died. But what they had done is they started this league, paid these guys like $100 or whatever. It was a kid that played at UCF, great athlete, great kid, but paid him $100 a game or whatnot. And they had booklets on. They didn't have the protocol in place. They didn't have anybody there. They took his helmet off on the field. And yeah, bottom line is the hit. I mean, he broke his neck as a result of the sport, but he never should have died. And so we wound up suing because the league went defunct. We sued the league and the team, and actually the city of Jacksonville, although we dropped them because they owned the venue. Because there were issues as to whether they had. But in the midst of that, we partnered up on another case of a kid that got shot working at a Subway during a robbery there. And we just clicked on that and did really well on both to help these kids out. And we're like, why are we not just partnering together?
Right.
You know, so, and we did like 5 or 6 years ago, formally partnered up, and it's been very good since.
And in terms of, and I'm especially, and have you guys been focused on, because the work that I do with this this background check company, a lot of it has to do with their blueprint or their parameters when it comes to a lot of legalities that a lot of organizations, enterprises that need to avoid when it comes to the COVID situation, whether it's like the temperature taking, recording, HIPAA laws, OSHA laws and all that other stuff, and FERPA. And one of the big fixations is people getting sent home, losing their jobs, tests, COVID shaming, all that other stuff. So I can imagine there's a lot of suits going around corporate wise with employees suing their corporations.
There's a lot on insurance coverage for businesses that had to shut down, and whether that's covered under the policies or not. So there's a ton of that litigation. But you're seeing all kinds, like right now, here's the big question. Can you make your employees get vaccinated? Okay. And because if not, are you jeopardizing others that are there? So it's just changing all the time, because we haven't, thank God, faced a serious pandemic in this country in our lifetime. And so you're seeing all kinds of things, but yeah, there's going to be changing laws and all that. But that's one of the hardest things now as people start to come back, although I don't think we're close to that because the numbers are still skyrocketing. But when they do, it's just going to change so much. I think commercial real estate, these law firms that had big giant firms are realizing, okay, that's your big nut. That's my big overhead. We don't need a big giant firm.
Exactly.
We can shrink it down, and we can have shared offices. We don't need a big corner office. And so a lot of things are changing. But yeah, there's going to be lots of litigation.
We only got a minute left in this segment, but have you ever thought about doing what a lot of law firms have done, and predominantly a lot of the ones from California? I've been approached multiple times for the NFL injury suits and the painkillers or the line of duty stuff, or have you ever thought about getting into that, since you know so much about it, about representing former players and finding that avenue?
I've got a very good friend in Philadelphia that's handling a lot of these cases. So I've done some stuff with him. That's one of those things, you don't do it as a one-off case. I mean, either you commit and say, I'm going to go sign up 50 players or not. They've got a firm that's done that. So I've helped facilitate some things down here and talk to some people, and that's just a tough scenario, but the reality is, these guys got to get compensated.
Oh, totally. And I know we don't got much time, but when you were talking about the gentleman or the player that ended up losing his life, breaking his neck, I can't name any names and I can't name any doctors, but we're playing the Cowboys, and a massive contusion on one of the wide receivers' thighs, like massive, to the point where it like bubbled up and they had to pull his pants down on the sideline. It was getting really, really bad.
Right.
Bleeding internally, really, really bad on the muscle. And I'm there because I had staph, and I'm like, after the game, they're trying to like work with me because of the staph infection that I ended up getting. And then all of a sudden the team physician was about to lance the guy's quad to let it bleed out. The Dallas Cowboy doctor is over there looking at me because of the staph. And he goes, "What are you doing? The guy's going to bleed to death. You can't do it." And you're looking at, like, this is an NFL team doctor now that was about to lance some guy's quadricep muscle that he would have died.
This isn't the blister on his heel.
No.
Going to release the pressure.
That was like the Cowboys doctor lost it. And then he's like, "What are you guys doing here?" And I was just like, "Oh my God, is our medical staff that bad? Like, what's going on here?" But yeah, you bring up a really good point of people that are in charge and are supposed to be prepped and properly versed on how to handle a situation that just totally dropped the ball.
Well, I'm sure you've had plenty of teammates who had a sprain, maybe of an ankle. It was a sprain each week. It was a sprain and then the last game they go, "Oh, you know what? The bone's broken. You must have done it in the last game. We're going to send you in for surgery."
I've had a few of those stories myself. Yeah, those stories are wonderful. What do you got, Tommy? Or we got to go again, huh?
Yep. Start your morning every day at 6 a.m. with 4th and 20 with Toast and March. The boys cover all the local sports stories while providing some great Miami Hurricanes insight. Download, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast 4th and 20, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. only on onsiteradio.com.
You're listening to Romberg and Korge. Take Onside Radio your home for sports talk everywhere with the MyTuner Radio app. Find the app at onsiteradio.com.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. First responders are people who stand for a greater purpose. They will be there for you when nobody else is, to help you, your family, your community. This is their selfless promise. This is their sworn duty to protect, to serve, to help. They put themselves in harm's way for us. They come to the rescue at times when we need them most. First responders are making enormous personal sacrifices to keep showing up for us and fighting the good fight. Nearly 70% of all firefighters are volunteers. That means when they get injured or quarantined, they may not have a way to pay their rent or keep their family safe and fed. No matter who you are or where you live, when you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up. Now, let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org and make a difference today.
For over 20 years, Mr. Glass has been committed to the safety and satisfaction of our clients. Our products are the culmination of innovative engineering, aesthetic appeal, and the highest levels of quality. Through our legacy, Mr. Glass strives to impart the true meaning of quality, service, and sustainability to new generations. Reputation, experience, and trust is why clients choose Mr. Glass. Live the future now. Locate a dealer near you today.
Hello, Inter Miami CF fans! Download the Drink AR app and play inside a first-of-its-kind virtual soccer stadium, hosted by Bodega Trevento and Inter Miami CF, and celebrate your passion for soccer from the comfort of your own home. Find the download links on our Instagram account at Treventus and get our wines delivered straight to your home with a discount for all Inter Miami CF fans. Discover Trevento, a shared passion.
Hey, it's Big O for EJD Construction, your custom home builder, additions and home remodeling. Our lives have changed. We're making our homes more of an oasis. Call the right place. Call the right people. Eric at EJD Construction for over 16 years. A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
My daughter is Marina. Marina has a rare form of children's eye cancer, retinoblastoma. Her doctor sent us to a specialist, and then the specialist sent us to St. Jude. Within the first couple weeks of us getting here, I was just so scared. I think the reality just hit me, and it kind of hit me all at once. I had started to cry, and her doctor came in, Dr. Brennan came in, and just didn't even say anything, sat down beside me, and hugged me and held me while I was literally sobbing. And she just said, "It's gonna be okay. We don't have to worry anymore. The treatment worked and we've saved her eye." This place has been such a blessing for us. There's no way we could have paid for treatment back home if we had to. We can come here and we can just solely focus on taking care of her and helping her heal.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Every 2 minutes, a woman in the U.S. is diagnosed with breast cancer. And in that moment in time, her life changes forever. We're fighting alongside patients because we know one moment can change a lifetime.
She's kind of a big deal. Some people like to say it's only because of how she looks. She sticks her tongue out a lot. But there's just something about her that makes people do crazy things, like get tattoos of her face or wait in line for hours just to say hi. Lil Bub is a 2-year-old cat, an Instagram celebrity with a following bigger than some 90s television stars. And it all started because she was adopted. You can't buy a best friend like Lil Bub, but you can adopt one. Help us save them all at bestfriends.org.
Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. To reach out to the guys, send a text to 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. This is Romberg and Korge on Onside Radio.
Nat. Now we're getting lost. We're chopping it up here. Me and Dave Heffernan over here, reminiscing about some Kane names and some times, some good old days, good old times. Did you find it like anybody that you hang out with? And I imagine you probably still have a tight little clique, University of Miami guys, and your Columbus crew is obviously probably tighter than your Canes crew, right? To be honest with you,
it's probably bigger,
right?
But I've got a very tight. I mean, we were just talking about roommate Ian Sinclair.
Where is Ian at right now? By the way, for those of you that don't know Ian Sinclair was like the first OG Canadian that came here, and he actually ironically played center at the University of Miami. So What is Ian doing now?
He's up in Vancouver. He's in the travel industry. He's been in the travel industry forever.
He's got girls too, right? He's got I remember he was telling me.
He's got 2 boys too. But he's doing well. He nearly killed himself on a wave runner a few months back. But
really,
yeah, and I don't know where he was. He was in the middle of nowhere and took a bad spill. He said literally the town they took him to, like they called the local.
Oh, so he had to go to the medic and everything.
Oh no, he was in the hospital for a long time. But whatever town he was in, he swears the guy was a vet that they called in.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. Then they got him transferred to Montreal or somewhere, and thank God he's okay now. But
oh boy.
But yeah, it was a little rough.
Yeah, I heard a lot of cool stories about him. He's
a great guy.
I didn't spend much time hanging out with him. I spent maybe about a day with him when he came down here. One of the University of Miami.
On the Canuck.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's big. You guys are. I'm telling you, when people talk about the evolution of man and the football player, and like obviously you have the modern day like anomaly that is whether it would be a Gronkowski, Tony Gonzalez at a tight end position, or Kelsey or whatnot, guys that can move that are so big. But I would do Ted Hendricks' golf tournament every year down here at the Doral. And those old heads, like that's old football players. But those men that I see that are like, obviously decrepit and their bones are kind of all jacked up because their hands are all messed up. But like Edward Too Tall Jones, Ted Hendricks, like 6'7", 6'6" grown men from back in the day. I can only imagine if they're a monster to me now in the 2000s. I could only imagine what they were like back in the 70s and 80s, like just humongous human beings. They must have been humongous on a football field.
But didn't you play with like Brian McKinney?
I did play with Mount McKinney.
Brian was one of those guys because you'd see his weight, and I forget what he was listed at.
They listed him at 340, but he wasn't at 340.
340, but he looked like he had an ounce of fat on him.
Right.
I mean, his chest was, and I look at that now, and I mean that's probably the big evolution of the game. I mean, I look at offensive linemen now coming out of high school. Dude, I weighed 208 pounds. I was a defensive end.
I was 230 coming out of high school, too.
And then they moved me to center, and Jim Burt beat me snotless for an entire year. That was fun.
Well, Jimmy Burt. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. I was a defensive end, never played offensive line in my life. Next thing I know, 3 days into camp, he created an offensive line. When we won the national championship, we only had one guy that actually played offensive line in high school.
Really?
Yeah. Ian was a tight end. He became our center. Paul Berticelli was a defensive tackle. Juan was a defensive end. I was a defensive end.
Juan Comandero.
Yeah.
So you're part of Juan's little crew too. Juan's still around.
Juan's one of my boys. I mean,
Does he live in Palmetto too?
No, he's right over here in South Miami.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see him quite often. I always see him.
He's been in the house over here, but Juan knows everybody in town.
Yeah, he is like the mayor.
But we used to laugh and he knew everybody from 7th grade. I go, how many years were you in 7th grade, Juan? Because he'd meet people. He's like, oh, I went to 7th grade with him. I'm like, Juan, you must have been in 7th grade for like 8 years.
So how many guys were local guys then that were on the University of Miami at that point in time?
We had a lot. I mean, you got to remember that was Howard's big thing, was to recruit the state of Miami, which was from here to Orlando. And now all you got to do is look at any college roster. There's kids out in South Florida, and all you got to look at the state championships that come out.
When Nick and Urban Meyer and those guys were chopping in and like landing on practice fields. I remember I was over there at Butch Davis when Butch first got the job over at FIU. I was hanging out at FIU a little bit because I obviously love Butch Davis, and I'll never forget Nicky Saban choppering in, and then shortly thereafter, later on that afternoon, Urban Meyer showed up as well to show support and like help Butch out, and they did a little pro day with them guys, and then I think they ended up heading over to the University of Miami for their pro day, but or not pro day. What was it? It was was it a pro day? No, it couldn't have been a freaking pro day. What the hell was it? No, it must have been like a youth camp or something like that they might have like came and hung out with Butch Davis for or whatever, just to be really, really nice. But they had to do something over at the University of Miami. It might have been Miami's pro day, and then Nick and those guys were going over to visit with some of the NFL coaches. I think that might have been coming over here. That might have been it. But yeah, so you got a couple Nick Saban stories, right? You being on the Orange Bowl committee as well. You ended up hosting Nicky Saban and his wife.
I hosted Alabama, and I got to tell you, it's we've hosted a few times, but so this was for the semifinal game, and everybody's like, they're actually easy to host, and I'll tell you why. Football ops guy gives you a schedule, and of course we're like, hey, whatever you, because we're moving players and all these events, and I'm like, whatever you need, just call. He goes, oh, it won't change. Okay.
Yeah.
Harbaugh came down with Michigan.
Uh-huh.
We'd meet with football. Well, we'd meet with football ops and a dozen other people every morning.
A lot of driftwood.
Oh God, they've got more people on staff and everything. And of course, coach called an audible and everything changed. And so, which is fine. We'd adapt to the, every team's different. But, the one thing about Alabama is it starts from the head coach down.
Yeah.
It's organized to a T. And that actually makes it easy for an organization like us.
That football ops guy, I have a story about Nick Saban. Obviously, he's not a huge fan guy down here. Like a lot of people are obviously very salty with Nicky Saban,
Right.
whether it's whooping our ass or the Miami Dolphins, same thing. Yeah, it could have been possibly. But apparently, Nick is so drill sergeant-esque, and you hit on it right there. Like once his schedule is set in stone, it's done. It's over with. You don't have to worry about that. But he runs his players the same way that he runs his office as well. His front office is ultimately terrified of Nick Saban, much like a lot of people are. He's got that Napoleon thing. He's a little man, but he carries a big stick, and he makes his media director guy basically jot down, sit at the back of the plane, and write down on pieces of paper every single question that he thinks the media is going to ask them when they lands the plane,
Right.
and for the press day. And the media guy done effed up one time and missed a question that was asked to him by some random person. So after the press conference, Nicky calls the guy over and he says, he goes, that question wasn't on your sheet. Like literally was expecting somebody else to see into the future and anticipate that question that person was going to ask. Another story about Nick Saban was one of his coaches ended up leaving the facility or something like that, and they were traveling, they were going to a game, and one of the coaches forgot some kind of paper that he was supposed to hand in. One of his assistant coaches was supposed to hand Nick some kind of recruiting paper, and made the coach give Nick the home phone number to his mother. So Nick calls the mother, makes the mother go into the office to look for this paper, to get this paper to fax over. Literally, like that's Nick Saban in a nutshell. Just doesn't care what kind of inconvenience he might place upon you. It just needs to fit into Nick's schedule.
Tell you what, though,
Shit works.
He's arguably the GOAT. I mean, because what he's done at that program
Incredible.
is
we talked about it the other night, the longevity of a dynasty. Yeah. It's very similar to the Bill Belichick New England Patriots situation. Granted, Bills had one quarterback for a long time, but yeah, the revolving door that Nicky Saban has been putting through Alabama, and the support that I've heard, because Perdomo Cigars, I'm a good buddy with Nick Perdomo. His daughter, I think, attends Alabama, and his son was a Miami guy, and he's had the best of both worlds, and he's actually been donating to both programs for a long time. He literally, the first year that donated, maybe, I don't even know what it was. He said it was like a minimal amount of like $10,000 or something, University of Alabama. He had the president of the school call him. He had alumni call him. They had thank you letters. They sent him gifts. They put him in a premier seat every time he would go to a game. He's been giving money to the University of Miami. I think it's actually been paying for a scholarship for somebody at the University of Miami for decades, and he hasn't even gotten a thank you letter. And he actually sat at a dinner with they put him with some like dean of something, and the dean was like, "I don't even know who you are." So you can imagine, there's a different level of I wouldn't say respect, but just they do things differently at the University of Alabama, and it shows, whether it's the facility, whether it's what's going on within, boosters, alumni, the way that program runs. It's impeccable from top to bottom.
So who takes it Monday night?
After what I saw with Ohio State and Clemson, I'm concerned now. Like this is really going to be an upfront battle, because obviously their skill positions are talented, but I want to see the big boys up front. They could really determine a game in a national championship.
Ohio State was just taking Clemson off the ball. And I mean, Clemson's got great defensive linemen, great defense. I mean,
they'll kill us.
Venables is one of the best around. And I was watching guys get rolled off the ball, and I went, ooh.
I started texting Fowler during the broadcast. I said, oh, this is going to get bad. I said, Ohio State is just crushing Clemson's defensive front. I said, this is not going to be good. And all they're doing is just moving the guys backwards. And that whole stunting thing that Clemson was trying to do, the confusion thing, I was like, offensive, and the standing up of the defense of Clemson to try to create that confusion. I was like, offensive linemen, they just run zone against that. And especially if they're those big hogs, they love that. They'll eat that up.
Backwards.
Yeah, they'll eat that up all day long, 5 or 6 yards of pop every single time. What do you got going on, Tommy? You keep barking down my neck, man.
Dude, it's the last one I got to do. We're almost out of here,
we're
bro.
ready to rock and roll.
Every Saturday at 11 a.m., soccer fans can connect with Austin Robillard and Red Card Radio. From the Premiership to the MLS, catch up with your favorite team, including our very own Inter Miami CF. Listen to Red Card Radio every Saturday from 11 a.m. to noon with Austin Robillard. exclusively at onsiteradio.com.
You're listening to Romberg and Korge. Take Onside Radio your home for sports talk everywhere with the MyTuner Radio app. Find the app at onsiteradio.com.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. First responders are people who stand for a greater purpose. They will be there for you when nobody else is, to help you, your family, your community. This is their selfless promise. This is their sworn duty to protect, to serve, to help. They put themselves in harm's way for us. They come to the rescue at times when we need them most. First responders are making enormous personal sacrifices to keep showing up for us and fighting the good fight. Nearly 70% of all firefighters are volunteers. That means when they get injured or quarantined, they may not have a way to pay their rent or keep their family safe and fed. No matter who you are or where you live, when you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up. Now, let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org and make a difference today.
You can connect with us at onsideradio.com by sending us a text at 844-416-8123. Save it on your cell phone, 844-416-8123. No better place to send your comments, ask questions, win prizes. Onsideradio.com, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
Hey Panthers fans, Dave Dwork here with some awesome news. Every Saturday, I'm going to bring you the latest on everything to do with the Florida Panthers with Chirping the Cats Radio. Saturday mornings from 10 to 11 a.m., we'll dive into the state of the team, recap games, and hear from past and present Panthers players, and plenty of other great hockey guests too. Got questions about the Panthers? Call or text the show and we'll break it down. Don't miss Chirping the Cats Radio, Saturday mornings from 10 to 11 a.m., only on OnsideRadio.com.
Every 2 minutes, a woman in the U.S. is diagnosed with breast cancer. And in that moment in time, her life changes forever. We're fighting alongside patients because we know one moment can change a lifetime.
I'm Tiffany. I have some tips for you on how to quit smoking like I did. First, I did some reading about it. I found a lot of great advice on how to quit smoking and picked out the ways I thought would work best for me. I started by setting a quit date. Then I threw out my ashtrays, lighters, and matches. I did other things too, like exercising more, and it worked. But I'd still get cravings, especially on long car rides. To help me with that, I put a picture of my mother in my car. She died of lung cancer from smoking cigarettes when I was only 16. Now I have a 16-year-old daughter. That picture of my mother reminds me that I don't want to miss all the things my daughter is going to do in her life, including turning 17.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
We live in challenging times, and we understand you have questions about how you're going to take care of your family and yourself. Well, you can trust the Publix is doing everything possible to help. Our stores continue to be open. We're busy restocking as quickly as we can. But please remember to think of others as you shop for the week ahead. This will give your friends and neighbors the opportunity to get what they need as well. Our supply chains are strong. Deliveries are being made throughout the day, and our associates are here every step of the way. It's not always going to be perfect, but together we'll make it through this. So let's be safe. Let's be calm. Let's be kind. Visit Publix.com for all the latest information.
Listen to OnsideRadio.com anywhere by downloading the MyTuner Radio app in your app store. Or go to MyTunerRadio.com on your web browser. OnsideRadio.com. South Florida sports leader. Welcome back to Romberg and Korge. To reach out to the fellas, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Here's Romberg and Korge.
I think I'm about ready to go ahead and do another little shout out to Mr. Heffernan's law practice here. If you guys are interested, if you guys need an accident attorney, malpractice attorney, anybody who's basically been wronged, accident attorney, everything, right? Basically, anything that when it comes to trying to go ahead and make something right, you got Care and Heffernan LLC right now. They're down in Brickell. You go ahead and check them out on carelaw.com, www.carelaw.com. That's KAIRE law.com. They're located right there at 999. Pretty easy number to remember, 999 Brickell Avenue. So obviously, former University of Miami offensive lineman, turned attorney, producing kids. One son goes to North Carolina. That's a linebacker that, runs his head into the wall a bunch of times. And then you got a daughter that ends up working for a construction company that went to Florida State. Talk about a house divided. And then now your last seed is electing to go ahead and donate himself to the wonderful US of A by joining the military and doing obviously something that I probably don't have the balls to do, to be perfectly honest with you. It takes something special, because we all know the situation that the world is in right now. And I can only imagine. That's one thing that really, it's the coming home videos, the Hallmark shit, the stuff that'll make you tear up a little bit. The coming home videos and basically the coming home videos. I think that's the only thing that really gets me is the surprising of sisters, brothers, kids. Hell, even when the freaking dog recognizes the guy after he comes home, I'm just like, oh my God.
Some of the best ones.
Yeah, they're and I imagine, when Junior goes away and, you think your kid's going over there to, go to school and do whatever he's got to do. And then all of a sudden shit hits the fan because something goes wrong. And then it's real. It's for real. So, and you make that commitment. You make that commitment. Your family makes that commitment. I can only imagine. That's why I've always, I put the military, I put medical people way above professional athletes, because we're getting paid to do a game and it's fun and all that stuff. And I find it very, I wouldn't say sick, but I just find it very ridiculous that professional athletes are revered more than people who save lives, protect lives, and that kind of thing. So whether it was the
people that teach our kids,
and that's the new one. That's the new one. That's the new one. It should have always been this way, but the influence and the amount of hours that one person will spend with your kids, your offspring, and the amount of influence that they put on that person can change their life forever. So I've always been, and to be perfectly honest with you, I never even felt this way until I had my heart surgery. Once that doctor basically saved my life. I was awake the whole time. We did it through the femoral artery, and you got to breathe and hold your breath when they're going ahead and putting those stents in your heart. And it's just like every day this guy's just saving freaking lives. Like, I could have been a goner. I could have had no kids.
Statistically, you should have been.
I should have been. I really should. That Widowmaker is no joke. And then all of a sudden, this guy just does this every day, just saves lives left and right. So that, and the military, the people that put themselves on the line for people who they don't even know. And half the time, those people don't even give a shit about the military, which is the unfortunate thing. So, I've always put myself, way in the backfield when it comes to playing a game, getting a lot of money for doing so. And then you got other people out there that really are sacrificing everything and putting a lot on the line. So, kudos to your son. He's 21 years old, huh?
He is.
Was that a tough pill to swallow when he said, Dad, I'm going to join the military?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's
what did mom say? Was she against it, or was she okay with it?
Well, mom's still against
I could imagine.
I mean, she's with it, but she's
reluctantly
thinks she said
kissing him goodbye.
She's going to break his leg or other things,
Yeah. Finding a way to keep him.
But I mean, she's behind him. But yeah, it's a tough pill. But you just have a lot of serious talks about it, so that you make sure his head's in the right place, and he clearly is. I mean, this is what he wants to do.
It's amazing.
And I'd love to talk him into doing something else, but I want somebody else's kid to go serve.
Yeah, of course.
But again, it's the most honorable thing you can do, and we're one of the few countries that don't require our kids to go serve. So we depend upon volunteers like that to be able to support and have the armed forces.
Well, that's awesome, man. I obviously thank your son or whatever for obviously his service. I do that. I make a point to do that every time I'm in an airport or on a flight or whatever. I've given my seat up many a times. I just find it remarkable that people are willing to do that and get the lack of respect that a lot of people do show for those military volunteers. So that'll be about it for Friday night. I know a lot of people got better shit to do than to sit here listen to me ramble on. What
Potential chance for a Monday remote show.
Yeah,
we're not revealing it yet, but it's possibly going to happen.
Yeah, I think we might do that. We might have to get like a rally cry going on Monday night. It'll be perfect. It's 6 to 8. We might do something prior to the national championship game on Monday night. Try to find some destination. Who knows, man? Maybe pop up at Sports Grill. Might even go down to. Are they still calling it Pig Floyd, or did they change the name to something else?
It's technically called Smokes Barbecue.
Oh,
now.
that's right. That's right.
But
everybody, all the locals,
all
the locals know it as Pig Floyd. So, yeah, we'll find a spot, man. I think we're going to try to do something remotely, so it'll be really, really cool. So tune in again on Monday night, or you can go ahead and just check out, download the podcast on all your outlets, your Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts is going to be up there too. Or you can watch us, man. You can see my fat ass and old ass Andy Korge every day, 6 to 8 on Facebook, on IG Live, YouTube, all that beautiful, wonderful stuff. And shout out to Andy. I hope he's enjoying himself this weekend because I'm stuck like Chuck at Miami, and he's out, gallivanting, sipping wine, I imagine.
He's been texting a lot on our group chat, so I don't think he's getting laid at all.
I think it's a bot. I think he's got somebody. I think he probably paid one of his vacation rental people to go ahead and text in once in a while underneath his name. But yeah, we'll see you guys on Monday. Thank you for tuning in once again. Thank you, obviously, to Dave Heffernan. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad I finally got to sit down and have a couple conversations with you, and I enjoyed that wholeheartedly. I always love my Canes. So we'll see you guys on Monday. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Talk to you then.